My mom didn't mutter it. She spoke it clearly enough for the whole space to catch. "I regret ever having you." Discussions halted abruptly. Beverages paused halfway up. Even the tunes appeared to falter, and I simply remained there sensing every gaze pivot my direction, expecting to witness if I'd shatter as they constantly figured I might. But a different sensation surged up in its stead, something that had stayed muted for ages. I raised my chin, set to reply to her in a fashion nobody foresaw. Since the instant she sought to obliterate me was the instant I uncovered a reality she never meant for me to grasp. I was raised in a double-level home on a calm road in Albany, the sort of spot individuals labeled dependable, tranquil, consistent. And perhaps it was for everybody but myself. From my earliest recollections, there existed an implicit hierarchy within our dwelling, a magnetic force that all elements appeared to circle. And it wasn't myself. It was my junior sibling, Brooke. The preferred one, the youngster whose title could light up my mom's countenance swifter than dawn striking a pane. If Brooke coughed, Mom retrieved napkins as though protecting a priceless relic. If Brooke came back with a medal, any medal, even the variety all youngsters obtained merely for attending, Dad proclaimed it over supper like urgent updates. And any time I accomplished a feat, even a genuine one, something obtained through toil, the reply was invariably identical. Courteous, concise, a mild tap on the arm prior to the focus pivoted directly back to its proper place. I recall the season I secured top spot at the area science fair. I was 14. I transported that award home as if it were the most delicate item on earth, fearful the edges might crease. Mom barely glanced away from the washing hamper when I placed it before her. "That's pleasant," she whispered, then mentioned Brooks assisting at the clinic this afternoon. "Isn't that marvelous? She's creating true difference." True difference. Those pair of terms turned into the benchmark she applied to all matters. Healing individuals, tending to others, possessing a mission, and evidently nothing I accomplished, even if it sustained our everyday existence operating, met the criteria. Yet I persisted. I labored dawn hours at a bakery during secondary school, hurrying from classes to work to residence where I'd continue learning till my vision stung. During university, I handled 3 positions: instructing, sweeping buildings, replenishing racks since our expenses wouldn't settle on their own. And my folks never inquired how I coped. They solely questioned when the settlements arrived. Certain evenings, when I remained overtime at the bakery, I'd clean counters and envision how it might seem to be noticed. Not acclaimed, not even so, just noticed. But I adapted to exist amid the quietude. I adapted to endure within it. Ages afterward, when I earned entry to Harvard for my business degree, my tutor wept more intensely than my mom did. She merely inclined her head, whispering a bit regarding Brooke's shifts in the emergency ward, as though my admission was a trivial aside in Brooke's continuing tale of superiority. Nevertheless, a tiny portion of me trusted circumstances might alter, that perhaps achievement at such a tier would ultimately tip the balance. And for an instant following commencement, I permitted myself to anticipate. I selected Portland since it appeared like a fresh beginning. A metropolis founded on drive illuminated by crystal skyscrapers and drizzle-drenched resolve. I figured perhaps returning with a Harvard business degree and an advisory position secured would render them admiring. Perhaps they'd perceive me for whom I'd evolved into. I had no idea the supper at Riviera Bistro would demonstrate just how mistaken I was. The period following commencement seemed like a haze of accolades from individuals who had truly observed my efforts, instructors who'd guided me, peers who'd endured late sessions next to me, associates who understood how many targets I'd borne on my shoulders. For a change, I allowed myself to trust that perhaps this occasion my folks would encounter me midway. Perhaps they'd appear not from duty, but admiration. Thus, I reserved the secluded area at Riviera Bistro, a venue I'd solely ever passed en route to less costly dinners. Fresh tablecloths, gentle amber glow glassware that gleamed as if it had never encountered a smudge. I handled all the meals, the drinks, the space fee. It wasn't luxury. It was me attempting to construct a connection I still trusted could endure. My associates came initially friendly and talkative, the type of folks who inquire about your aspirations as if they're cheering for you. My supervisor clasped my palm and murmured, "This evening belongs to you, savor it." And for a short instant, I overlooked the burden nestled in my torso. Then my folks entered. My mom's footwear tapped as if she commanded the venue. My dad's look bore that known mix of courteous disinterest and measured separation. They arrived without gifts. No bouquets, no note, not even a gentle well done. If they felt admiration, they concealed it with the accuracy of experts. Nevertheless, I welcomed them with the grin-eyed rehearsed for ages. Courteous, restrained, expectant. Presentations commenced my supervisor, my instructors, peers who truly appreciated me. Praises ensued in smooth currents. "You have to be tremendously admiring of Emma," one instructor remarked. "A Harvard business degree isn't a thing you chance upon." My mom's grin narrowed. "We're admiring of each of our girls," she responded casually. "But Brooke, she's preserving existences in the emergency ward. That's genuine difference." Her tone layered the terms with a gentleness that seemed like venom against my flesh. A different associate joined in attempting to guide matters back toward me. "Emma supported our entire trainee group last period. I can't figure how she manages it." My dad laughed. Genuinely laughed. "She's smart, certainly, but what Brooke performs, that's significant labor." The discussion faded. Utensils lingered halfway. Even my peers, who scarcely grasped the interactions, sensed the chill intensify. I compelled myself to inhale amid the humiliation, grinning till my face throbbed. But inwardly, something was fracturing. Not merely from their statements, but from comprehending how practiced it appeared, how smoothly they belittled me, as if they'd been anticipating an opportunity to redirect the attention. Then my supervisor rose to offer a salute, kind, considerate, the sort of commendation I never anticipated to hear voiced concerning me. My torso constricted as he stated, "Emma is among the most skilled emerging advisors I've collaborated with. She's bound for remarkable achievements." The cheers swept across me, and I pivoted toward my folks, merely requiring a look, a glimmer, a hint of admiration. Rather, my dad reclined and whispered, "Next to a physician." It falls short. Something within me altered like a plank at last yielding after ages of pressure. And then, in one seamless exhalation, my mom uttered the remark that would fracture my reality apart. "You understand, at times I ponder why Emma regards matters so gravely. Brooke never provokes this sort of turmoil." I sensed the space slant. I had no clue yet, but I was moments from hearing the terms that would dismantle all I believed signified. When the terms ultimately arrived, they didn't emerge as a yell. They emerged gently, nearly nonchalantly, the manner one might observe the climate. "I regret ever having you." For a pulse, I didn't comprehend them. The space appeared overly luminous, overly hushed, overly motionless. Then the significance penetrated, keen and icy. My mom wasn't simply irritated or weary or acting theatrical. She intended it. She expressed it with the identical simplicity she employed when requesting tea. A utensil rattled someplace close to the table's end. Somebody inhaled sharply. My neck constricted, but nothing emerged. I sensed every gaze upon me, anticipating to observe what the reasonable one, the hushed one, the one who constantly ingested all would do subsequently. Rather than weeping, I merely slid my seat rearward. The grating noise sliced the hush like a knife. "Pardon me," I uttered, although my tone seemed as if it pertained to another. I didn't glance at my mom. I didn't glance at my dad. I didn't even glance at my supervisor, who partially stood from his place as if to pursue. I simply departed footwear striking the timber flooring in keen, irregular rhythms. By the period I emerged outdoors, the Portland evening enveloped me like a veiled, chilly breeze, seizing the borders of my respiration. Drizzle had started descending, not intense, just sufficient to smudge the urban illuminations into bands of yellow and azure. I remained there on the pavement, the noise of far-off vehicles droning in my hearing, and for the initial occasion in my existence, I felt utterly disconnected. Not liberated, not yet. Just detached, I didn't weep. I figured I might, but nothing arrived. Nothing. Rather, there was merely a dull, resonating weariness, one that had accumulated for ages, perhaps even generations. Every reminiscence flickered past the ignored anniversaries, the washing hamper accolades, the monetary duties I bore without inquiry. Abruptly, all of it seemed intolerably burdensome. By the period I arrived at my flat in Lakeview, my jacket was moist, and my palms were trembling slightly. I removed my footwear, settled on the ground in the shadows, and gazed at the flashing modem glow as if it could instruct me what to pursue next. My device vibrated 11 unanswered summons from parents and one message. You shamed us. I trust you're satisfied with yourself. Satisfied. The term coiled in my torso. Satisfied was something they never experienced toward me, but demanded I experience toward them. Something within me yielded, not with a crack, but with a soft, constant adjustment. I accessed my finance program. 3 scheduled shifts awaited in the line settlements for my folk services, Brooks fees, and the remaining segment of the household loan. For a moment, my digit lingered. The former edition of me, the one who existed on responsibility, struggled to inhale. Then I pressed terminate. 1, 2, 3. Each validation snapped like a latch securing. The hush in my flat transformed. It wasn't vacant any longer. It was serene. The following morning, Jordan appeared with food boxes and a flask of liquor he feigned indifference to, but obviously valued, merely verifying if you're still breathing. He quipped softly, crossing the stack of volumes by my entrance. I settled on the ground once more, this occasion with him adjacent. Vapor from the meal ascending like a tether drawing me back into my form. I believe I uttered gradually. I've finished. He didn't interject. He didn't suggest I rethink. He merely inclined, gaze mild. High time you rescued yourself for a change. Something stabilized within me. For the initial occasion, I wasn't submerging. I was emerging. 3 weeks elapsed without a solitary remark from my folks. Not a regret, not a clarification, just hush. The sort of hush they had constantly required from me, except now it was directed back at them, pointed enough to wound. And oddly, I didn't long for them. Not the manner a child ought to. I longed for the concept of them, the addition I persistently endeavored to fabricate so I wouldn't sense isolated. Releasing that mirage was agonizing, but also pure. Labor became my sanctuary. The reorganization initiative I'd been designated engulfed whole days entirely, but I didn't object. For the initial occasion, I wasn't expending myself merely to be disregarded. Individuals heeded when I communicated. Customers yielded to my assessment. My supervisor assigned duties as if he relied on me to manage them because he did. And when a regional commerce journal requested to showcase the initiative, I agreed. I didn't reference my relatives in the discussion. I didn't need to. The reporter stated she aimed to emphasize endurance, how you develop when the foundation below you persistently moves. When the piece became public, my messages overflowed with notes from unknowns. Individuals who had survived guardians who solely cherished the addition of them that remained diminutive. Their terms seemed like trails on a route I didn't realize I was tracing. But hush is never enduring. Not in households like mine. On a Tuesday evening, I returned following a 12-hour shift, fatigued, still in footwear, jacket sliding off my arm, and spotted 2 outlines through the opaque pane of my flat entrance. For an instant, I assumed it was a shipment, then I detected my mom's tone. Emma, unlock the entrance. We realize you're present. My gut sank. I didn't stir. Not since I was scared, since I no longer owed them haste. When I ultimately unlatched the entrance, they rushed inward without awaiting a welcome. As if my residence was simply another item I upheld for them. My dad occupied the sofa. My mom strode once, then confronted me with rigid, fragile fury. We must discuss, she declared. Regarding Brooke. Naturally it concerned Brooke. It invariably did. My dad clasped his palms rigidly. Her placement concluded abruptly. There were reductions. Her fee remainder is past due, and if it isn't addressed, she'll be required to pause the course. I didn't settle. I didn't flutter. And then my mom erupted. We require your assistance. The boldness struck like a blow. They hadn't appeared to express regret. They hadn't appeared to question how I fared, or why I departed that eatery, or what they had performed to trigger a rift large enough to consume our whole bond. They appeared because they desired me to repair their preferred child's existence once more. When I didn't respond promptly, my mom's pitch grew harsher. Emma, don't be spiteful. Brooke is your sibling. I chuckled, brief, acrid, not entertained. I funded her fees for ages. I managed your expenses, the loan. I labored myself exhausted, so this household didn't collapse. And you positioned in that eatery and declared you regretted having me. My dad sat upright. We were furious. You created a spectacle. No, I declared, advancing nearer. You created the spectacle. I merely departed it. The atmosphere rarefied among us. I could sense something within me stabilizing, hardening into lucidity. "You're our child," my mom declared, her tone escalating. "Kin is kin." I released a lengthy, constant exhalation. "You can't invoke that now." Her gaze sparkled. "Emma, you're being illogical. You are indebted," I interrupted her. "I am indebted nothing." My dad's countenance flushed. "We nurtured you." I wagged my head. "You didn't nurture me. You depleted me." The terms struck more forcefully than I anticipated. Perhaps because it was the initial occasion I'd ever voiced them aloud. My mom stiffened. My dad's mouth tightened. For the initial occasion in my existence, they appeared diminutive, like two individuals facing a reality they couldn't dominate. I advanced toward the entrance, but not to depart, to unseal it. I maintained it open, permitting the corridor illumination to flood into the space. "If you arrived here to express regret," I declared softly, "I'd heed." They uttered nothing. Not a term. But if you arrived to request additional, I gazed at each of them in the gaze, firm and unyielding. "That discussion concluded the evening you rejected me." My mom sneered, folding her limbs. "You're committing an error. You'll rue this. One day you'll understand you require your kin." And that was the ultimate adjustment. The instant all in me harmonized, a lucidity so keen it seemed like inhaling for the initial occasion. I positioned erect, more erect than I'd ever sensed in my existence, and uttered the terms I never envisioned I'd possess the fortitude to express. "Regard me as though I never occurred. Conduct your existences as if there was never a child named Emma." They became motionless. My dad's mouth separated. My mom's countenance paled. The whole space, the strain, the atmosphere, the gap among us solidified like somebody had activated halt. They became mute, and for the initial occasion I wasn't the one diminishing within that muteness. I inclined toward the portal. "It's moment for you to depart." My mom paused, hunting for some perspective, some influence she no longer held. But there was nothing remaining to seize, nothing remaining to govern. She pivoted abruptly. My dad trailed more gradually, like a person departing from a blaze he didn't foresee to expand. When the entrance ultimately secured behind them, the calm that permeated the flat wasn't vacant. It was mine. In the periods that ensued, I anticipated for the known pain to reappear the remorse, the reconsideration, the urge to mend what wasn't mine to mend. But it never appeared. Rather, there was an odd tranquility within me, a calm I'd expended my entire existence pursuing without realizing it. Labor advanced rapidly. Our initiative concluded with outcomes well exceeding projections. And when the customer extended the agreement, my supervisor drew me aside with a grin I hadn't witnessed aimed at me since youth. "You're prepared," he declared, presenting me the directing agreement I had battled for without recognizing it. This occasion I didn't doubt if I merited it. The piece spread widely. Notes surged in from unknowns who had matured unseen, like I had individuals who murmured, "Gratitude," for expressing the terms they couldn't. Perusing their accounts seemed like positioning in a space illuminated by countenances I'd never encountered, but somehow comprehended. One evening, I advanced onto my terrace, the Portland horizon throbbing gently under a veil of fog. I considered the youngster who expended ages attempting to gain affection from individuals who declined to provide it openly. She was absent now. In her stead positioned someone more stable, more hushed, but indisputably complete. On my final evening of that extended disentangling period, I positioned on my terrace with a tumbler of liquid, permitting the chilly breeze to rest against my flesh. Portland sparkled beneath a dispersion of illuminations mirroring off the river like the globe was softly recommencing itself. For the initial occasion, I wasn't desiring for my folks to contact or anticipating a regret that would never arrive. I wasn't practicing what I'd declare if they did. I was merely inhaling firm, leisurely, ultimately liberated. Perhaps I was never the child they desired, but I evolved into the lady I required. And if you've ever borne the burden of a household that couldn't perceive you realize this, you are not isolated. Post your account in the remarks. And if you desire additional accounts like this, press follow so you don't overlook the subsequent.